So I would like to begin to talk about the Honors Mentorship Program. It is for juniors and seniors, and it is for students who really want to pursue a career. So we intern at wherever we want to pursue. This year, I am in the counseling department at C.W. Davis Middle School, and I work with the counselors, I work with the registrar, and I work with one of the assistant principals. And so right now, I'm going to start beginning to talk about one of my topics that I chose for my capstone project. I'm going to talk about countertransference. So, what is it? I would like to first point out what transference is, not countertransference, but transference. It is the unconscious feelings a client may feel toward their counselor. So they may feel, the counselor may remind them of, say, like a parent, a sibling, a friend, even someone they really dislike. So now countertransference is the opposite. They are also unconscious feelings, but it's what a counselor feels toward their clients. Now, there are good aspects and there are bad aspects to this, but it can be very useful and helpful when treating their clients. First off, it helps to empathize with their clients. This is a very important trait in a counselor, is the empathy, because it helps create better treatment plans based on their own experiences, and it can create a trusting bond between the client and the counselor, and the client can open up more to the counselor, and can also result in speeding up the treatment process. And a therapist, and another example of how countertransference can help, but without the empathy part, is that a therapist who feels irritated by a patient for no apparent reason may eventually uncover subtle unconscious reasons that the patient may feel like irritable, or that can irritate and repel other people. So this can provide insight to why they can repel people, which can make them feel isolated and lonely. Okay, some of the disadvantages of countertransference. If it is not recognized by the counselor, it can lead to ineffective treatment. For example, say you are the counselor and you have a new client who happens to be very, very attractive. Because they are attractive, you want to keep them close to you. You want for them to like you. So you might never say anything that may cause them to be angry or for them to become sad, because you want them to stay close to you. So this can lead to kind of like lying to them, which wouldn't really help. It wouldn't help the client at all. Okay, another example is, say you have a client who for some reason just bothers you. It might be because they look or act like someone you highly dislike. Because of this, you may feel bitter towards them and may not want to help them at all. Okay? Sometimes the counselor must ask themselves these 4 questions whenever they encounter possible countertransference. The first question: is the feeling characteristic? Does it happen all the time? If so, it may say a lot about the counselor themselves, but probably nothing about his or her patient. The second question: is the feeling triggered by something unrelated to the patient? So these are feelings kind of such as silly as this may sound, whenever the counselor's hungry, or say something's going on in their own personal lives. And also whenever there's a problem in the office, and so forth. And this is not useful for helping the patient. This would, in fact, just go backwards. They wouldn't even help at all. The third question: is the feeling related to the patient in an obvious way? So these are feelings put off by a patient who say is like screaming obscenities, or they automatically say like, I hate you, I don't like you. They are just throwing chairs, cursing. So naturally, you wouldn't really want to help them. You'd want to get away from them. So this is countertransference, and this isn't very helpful. And finally, the fourth question: is the feeling uncharacteristic of the counselor? Is it a reaction to one particular patient, and yet the exact trigger is not immediately obvious? These are the most helpful feelings to notice in oneself, as they often shed light on subtle yet important dynamics in the patient. Okay, so to conclude my presentation, so based on how these feelings make the counselor feel themselves, he or she may need to go to counseling themselves, which is actually the best thing you can do as a counselor, is just to go to counseling yourself. Because you need to talk about these feelings and figure out why you're having these feelings. And also, finally, it is the job of the counselor to recognize these feelings and to address them. So not recognizing it, not addressing them, can really harm the patient and impede their treatment.